Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. But guys, that team builder here for WBE Week 9. The Minnesota Vikavolts are taking on the New Orleans Pelippers in an epic showdown right now. It is about to go down, man. I'm really excited about this battle. John is a tremendous battler, and we always have a tendency to have some incredible matches. It just seems to be that way. We were sitting at a solid 6-2 through the first 8 weeks, and John is 5-3, so he's right behind us. He's got a really good team. We're gonna talk about his team, we'll talk about my team, and everything we're bringing in between. I spent a good amount of time preparing for this one. I did some practice matches. I feel really strongly about the team that we're bringing today, so it should be a lot of fun. Of course, if you like the team builders and you want to see them, man, hit that like button down below and subscribe if you're new. You know, I don't know if they're gonna be back, but I'll do them when I can. So here we go. Let's talk about the teams and the matchup here. Before I go any further though, I did make a transaction. Some people noticed it. I forgot to edit the doc properly, but I did drop Girder and I picked up Rotom Frost. To me, Girder was a really cool Pokemon. It gave me a fighting type Pokemon, but I really thought Rotom Frost would be a really good fit for this team. While it's a second electric type to Vikavolt, I felt like having a little faster electric type with some status abilities in Will-O-Wisp and also Blizzard's 100% accurate in Hail would be actually kind of a cool combination. So I really like Rotom Frost, and it's got the combination of Bolt Beam, which is Blizzard and Thunderbolt. Really cool combination there. And I think we can make it really cool, like really do some good things with it. So that's that, man. But let's talk about his team here. So he's good at Terrakion, which is a huge offensive threat. In this matchup, I could definitely see him bringing like a dual dance set with Rock Polish and Swords Dance, or like a choice Scarf set for immediate power. But it's gonna hit really hard with Stone Edge and close combat. Nevertheless, he could also run things like X-Scissor and stuff too. He's got the Mamoswine, which could run a number of different sets, like a Scarf set. It could be like an Assault Vest set. It could have a Berry, something like that. But it could carry Stealth Rocks. Definitely gonna have Ice Shard on it though because of Landorus. Likely to have Icicle Crash and Earthquake. He could also bring Freeze Dry. Freeze Dry Life Orb Mamoswine is a thing to catch my Gyarados, so I wouldn't be surprised there. He's got the Tentacruel. Tentacruel is a good Rapid Spinner. It can set up Toxic Spikes. It can, you know, Scald, and it can, you know, do some things like that. It is pretty fast at 100 speed. He's got the Serena, which is a new pick. He dropped his Roserade for Serena. Roserade obviously very bulky, very good offensively on the physical side, does have the ability to rapid spin as well to remove those hazards off the field to get some pivoting options with U-turn, and can dodge priority with Queenly Majesty. He's got the Escavalier, which is a big threat because he can run a 0-speed Escavalier to counter my Reuniclus Trick Room, which I actually expect him to do. Potentially Assault Vest on that, or maybe an offensive boosting item with like knockoff Drill Run Pursuit, Megahorn, or Iron Head, something to that effect. I wouldn't be surprised there. He's got that little Rotom, which has a lot of immunities. Could be a pretty cool Pokemon. It does have the same speed as Landorus, so he might bring like a Choice Scarf set, or he could bring like Will-O-Wisp or Trick. He's got the Mega Latios, one of the biggest threats in the format. It's so good, so broken. Mega Latios can obviously set up Dragon Dances. It can set up Calm Minds. You know, he probably can bring like a Calm Mind Bolt Beam Roost set. I think would probably be really effective against me, or just like 3 attacks, Defog, something to that effect, because of screens. Aurora Veil rather. He's got the Sylveon, very bulky fairy type Pokemon, but it can be offensive as well with Hyper Voice. I think he's got some move slot syndrome there. If he brings a more defensive set, he'll probably bring like Wish, Protect, maybe Baton Pass, Toxic, Hyper Voice obviously. If he brings a more offensive set, he'll bring probably like Psyshock on there, maybe Shadow Ball. He's got the Incineroar, which obviously has access to Intimidate now, much better than it was before. Does get U-turn, can be a really cool pivot being Dark and Fire type. And again, like it can be Assault Vest in this match. I wouldn't be surprised there as a way for him to deal with like Shaman and stuff. He's got the Exploud, which is most often seen with the choice specs, just to break through walls with that Boom Burst. Boom Burst is really strong. I think he's got a tough matchup with the Exploud though, because while he can, you know, Boom Burst away, he does have to deal with things like Empoleon. He has to deal with things like Stack Attacka, which obviously can be running a Berry. He could obviously have Focus Blast, but nevertheless. And then he's got the Type Null, and Type Null is really annoying. I lost to one in P4G this past season because it can just rest and sleep talk and just be really bulky. But in this matchup, you know, if you knock off its EVLA, it's not nearly as big of a threat. And then last but not least is going to be that Dragonium Z, which is a Z Crystal. And realistically, while he has a few little pieces here and there that can run Dragon Z, the main piece would be that Latios. Latios using Dragon Z instead of being a Mega is a possibility. However, I don't really see a Z Crystal being all that effective in this matchup. So in terms of what I'm expecting to bring, I think we're going to see Terrakion, because Terrakion is just a huge offensive threat. A Choice Scarf Terrakion would help shut down my Mega Gyarados if I ran a Dragon Dance set. He's also got the Mamoswine. I fully expect that because it's a great response to Landorus. It also just hits really hard against my team. Mega Latios is too good to not bring, in my opinion. The thing is just an absolute beast. I think Incineroar's got a really solid matchup as well. It kind of helps against the ALOLA Ninetales. It can intimidate some of my other options. It can pressure things with knockoff like a Reuniclus and Vikavolt and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Incineroar, maybe even with Will-O-Wisp. So those 4 I definitely feel pretty confident in. I think Escavalier is again, I think he has to bring it because Reuniclus really kind of wrecks his team. A Trick Room Life Orb Reuniclus destroys his entire team unless he brings like AV Incineroar. But, you know, Escavalier can obviously outslow it in Trick Room and end up being faster in Trick Room. And then last but not least, I mean, I can see Sylveon, I can see Serena. It really depends on which thing he thinks is the bigger threat, whether it's Gyarados or whether it's Landorus or whatever it may be. So that's his team, and that's what I'm kind of expecting him to bring. Obviously, there's always variation, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. So let's talk about our team. Mega Gyarados absolutely rips through his team. At +1, it can do some serious destruction if he doesn't have anything to counter it with like a Terrakion Scarf or something like that. Gyarados just is insane in this matchup, and it has a really good opportunity to set up against a number of things. It can set up on the Incineroar, it can set up on the Terrakion if it's well, not the Terrakion, it can set up on the Mamoswine rather, it can set up on the Tentacruel, it can set up on, you know, the Escavalier. That's why we have Substitute. Substitute's really nice for Tentacruel. If I can set up in front of that thing, I got a good amount of speed, 188 speed, so if he's a slow Tentacruel, I can easily set up on that. Either way, Mamoswine doesn't really do a ton to me. I can click Dragon Dance. Once I have that Dragon Dance up, nothing on his team can take Waterfalls and Crunches. We destroy Latios. Like I said, that's why I feel like he's got to bring like Choice Scarf Terrakion or something to that effect, just because he needs something that can beat me when I'm +1, because I should have no problem setting up a Dragon Dance at some point in this match if I play my Gyarados properly. There should be an opportunity to do that. This Pokemon I'm really excited about, man. Jenga is back with the Trick Room offensive Stakataka, and this thing is a monster, dude. Against John's team, he doesn't have a single switch in, man. I did a lot of playtesting with this Stakataka, and every playtest match I did, Stakataka just won the game. So I'm hoping that that stands true here as well. If I get that Trick Room up, he has to just sack things. Stone Edge with the Rocky MZ after Stealth Rock one-shots a max HP Escavalier, which is super duper important to note. And the thing with Stakataka is once it starts to get those beast boosts, nothing switches in. If you can just get one kill with that Rocky MZ, which is finally using my Z Crystal this season, the reason why I picked up Stakataka in free agency, it can just steamroll, dude. Gyro Ball obliterates Mamoswine, Terrakion, and Lati, as well as Sylveon. Earthquake and Stone Edge are going to destroy the rest of his squad, including things like Incineroar, Tentacruel, and so on and so forth. And then, like I mentioned, Rocky MZ Stone Edge is going to obliterate that Escavalier. So I really, really like this set. Max HP, max attack, essentially. A little bit of special defense. The objective is if I can get this thing in on something that cannot knock me out in one hit, if I get that Trick Room up, it's going to be very difficult for him to stop that. He's probably going to lose 2, maybe 3 Pokemon to this Stakataka set if I execute it properly. I'm bringing Reuniclus here. I was going to bring Rotom Frost. My original test matches had Rotom Frost in the game, but I was really nervous about Terrakion because it's such a huge threat. If it sets up, it can be really, really, really offensive. So I decided to bring this physically defensive Reuniclus, which does lead our team in kills. We've got the Side Shot, the Shadow Ball, the Toxic, and the Knockoff. More of a support set. I don't have Recover. I don't really feel like I need it. I got Regenerator on there so I can heal up. Max HP, max defense. This thing is meant to switch into that Terrakion, basically. Gives me a dedicated switch every time into Terrakion. I can switch into it, no problem. I can take those hits, and I can Regenerate her out. I can force things out with Psyshock. I can knock off the potential Escavalier switching in, which seems like a very common switch in. Shadow Ball does a lot to Lati if he's not Calm Mind. If he is Calm Mind, no big deal. I have Toxic there for that. Toxic also helps me wear down some of his other switches. So I really, really think this Reuniclus set is just so important for this team because without it, I really struggle against Terrakion. I just feel like it's too good. You can see my 2 Pokemon already are weak to Terrakion, so I had to make sure I had something that was super duper reliable against Terrakion because, again, like I mentioned, the rest of the team is very weak to it. The next Pokemon is going to be our Landorus-T in form, which surprisingly, actually, I don't think has a single kill this season, man. You would think that having this thing as my first overall pick, it would actually have some kills, but no, in 7 games, it has 0 kills, which I don't know if it's me or what's going on, but we're bringing a defensive set, so it doesn't look like it's going to get many kills this match either. We got the Earthquake U-Turn Knockoff Defog. Again, this is meant to be a support set. It's meant to intimidate things like the Mamoswine, intimidate things like the Terrakion, force that Mamoswine to Ice Shard so I can switch out and get something else in. It can pivot into the Escavalier as a great switch into Escavalier. It helps me against the Incineroar and the Serena. So realistically, it's just a defensive blanket check to a good amount of his team, and I have the knockoff there to pressure him offensively and try to knock off some items and kind of help out the rest of the team, primarily things like Stakataka and Gyarados, to open up those windows to allow those Pokemon to come in, potentially set up and sweep for games. So again, a very defensive Landorus set, mainly originally on the team because of things like Terrakion, but it's a really good switch into Mamoswine if I know he's not going to go for an Ice move, and it's also just like a really good pivot in general. Like U-turn is so nice because until he realizes I'm defensive, he's going to have to be really careful about it and go into things like Serena and so on and so forth, maybe like Sylveon defensively. So he's gonna have a hard time there, so I can freely U-turn around. We've also got our Empoleon here. Stealth Rocks are kind of important in this match. They're definitely helpful. Like I mentioned, the Escavalier calc I think is really important. Max HP Escavalier going down to the Rocky MZ Stone Edge. It's a damage roll otherwise, so really want to get those rocks up just for that 12% there. Helps against the Incineroar, which is really nice, and that little bit of damage is actually pretty decent. But this thing is max special defense, and it's a really good switch in primarily to the Sylveon, to the Tentacruel, 2 Pokemon there. I've got the Stealth Rocks, I've got the Roar, I've got the Toxic. The Toxic is there for the Lati primarily, and again, Scald is just to kind of weaken things. Latios is such a huge threat, but if I can Toxic it and kind of keep him from setting up those Calm Minds, or at least add a timer to him to slow him down, that could be really effective. And then if things get out of hand, I do have the Roar option as well. You know, Flash Cannon would have been nice to hit a couple things like the Mamoswine, and primarily the Sylveon rather, but I felt like just having Scald was going to be fine. Obviously things like Tentacruel wall me, but I can roar them out, so it's not too big of a deal. And then last but not least is going to be our Alolan Ninetales here, which is a core kind of piece to this strategy, is getting up that Aurora Veil. 8 turns of Aurora Veil with Light Clay. He's got 2 Defoggers. He's got the Lati, he's got the Rotom. If Rotom comes, I feel like it's got to be Choice Scarf. I have a hard time thinking he's going to be able to fit Defog onto that set, but maybe. Latios is his other Defogger, and the thing is, it doesn't really have the move slots to run Defog, I think, in this match. I think it really needs to have Calm Mind Roost and then, you know, Thunderbolt Ice Beam or something like that. So, I should be able to get up 8 turns of Aurora Veil. Very, very good against him. It opens the door for Stakataka, it opens the door for Gyarados, and it really allows those Pokemon to pressure him offensively and break down his defensive core, which is really going to be our focus here. Blizzard, Freeze Dry, Moonblast, pretty standard stuff there. Obviously, Freeze Dry is going to be primarily for that Tentacruel. We got the Blizzard to hit things hard, and then we've got the Moonblast, which is going to be, you know, we're going to outspeed the Terrakion. We're going to be a little slower than Lati, but if he runs like a bulky Lati, then we should be all right there. And then again, we can hit the Incineroar and stuff. He could bring like a Brick Break Incineroar. Wouldn't be surprised to see that as a way to kind of counter it. But again, you know, I actually think Brick Break Incineroar makes a lot of sense against me. But again, I have that Landorus that can switch into it. I have that Gyarados, which doesn't really care that much. Once it gets a Dragon Dance up, these Pokemon become huge offensive threats. So that's gonna be our squad there, man. I really feel like we got a cool team this week, regardless of the outcome. Shaman, I think, had some viability, obviously. I think Shaman could really break some things down with those Seed Flares, but with the likelihood of Escavalier and Incineroar coming in, then the priority with Mamoswine, I just didn't feel like it was that great. Druddigon, I didn't really feel like it was that good. It was a little too slow in this matchup. Rotom Frost, as I mentioned, was originally on the team. I was going to bring Wide Lens Rotom Frost with Thunder and Blizzard, but again, I just was too worried about Terrakion. And then otherwise, Vikavolt had some viability. Like, you know, he doesn't really have the best switch-ins to its dual stab, but at the same time is a little too slow in this match. And then again, Drapion, like, again, same kind of issue where it struggles against, you know, some of his bigger offensive threats. So I think the 6 that we have are definitely the right 6, but he's got to make sure he's aware of Vikavolt because it obliterates the Lati, and it really wrecks a couple other things like Serena and stuff like that. And then I do think, you know, Drapion, Rotom had some viability, so I don't know if he's going to prep for Rotom, but Rotom actually looked pretty good against him, as I mentioned, just because you know, those Thunderbolts and those Blizzards are really strong. Will-O-Wisp, it's such a great switch into Mamoswine too. Rotom resisting Mamoswine's ice moves and immune to its Earthquakes, potentially burning it is really solid, because I felt like it was a good matchup, but again, the Terrakion was just so scary. So that's that, man. I hope you guys are excited for the battle. I'm pretty pumped to face John again, and hopefully we can pick up a W. We've been doing really well this season. We're on a nice little win streak, so let's keep it moving, guys. Thank you for watching. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one, and be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.